Good evening. I hope everyone is well. I am Brendan Nguyen, the founder of Solar Support. For the last 4 years, I've studied solar panels, and in my studies, I learned how solar panels work, what it takes for them to work, and finally, what we can do with them. Recently, I began looking at how we can begin to incorporate this technology into the city of Dallas to shine a light onto our disenfranchised constituents and underprivileged communities. The 2021 North American winter storm was perhaps the largest natural disaster in Dallas history. Across 4 days, temperatures dropped below 0 degrees, hitting unexpected, unprepared Texans with never before seen forecasts. What makes this worse is that the Electricity Reliability Council of Texas was unable to adequately address sudden rises in demand on the Texas power grid, resulting in blackouts that disproportionately swept across thousands of households in Dallas. Furthermore, in 2021, Dallas experienced more than 22,000 active outages, a majority of which entirely cut out power for middle income and lower income households. The problem we face today is not what happens if power is cut, but instead what happens when it is cut. The lives of Dallas citizens lies in our hands. So let's play our cards correctly because solar support has the power to light our homes. Our objective is to provide clean and reliable energy in the form of solar panels to low-income households in Dallas by working directly with NGOs to finance or supplement our solar panel installation and maintenance costs. Through corporate partnerships with local participating businesses like Dallas Solar Panels, our NGO aims for the greater integration of solar energy across the city of Dallas. Through an in-depth evaluation, these services will primarily target households and businesses that will bring the greatest benefit to their communities, whether it be by expanding their means of operations or assistance. Now, onto our budget needs. Of course, as for our staff, although we look to expand in the future, this is how we begin our operations with consultants dealing directly with private NGOs as well, public NGOs as well as private corporations to facilitate costs, maintenance, expenditure, and investments. What are the initial plans for what are the initial plans for consumers to begin their payments on, and how to best reduce that cost for these low-income households and or public facilities. Next is our evaluators, who will directly go onto the site of these of prospective applicants. So the job of our evaluators is to first identify three issues. First, what is the sun coverage? For example, in urban spaces, the sunlight and or exposure to the sun is far greater than a shady and or more rural area. Secondly, how optimized is this area for ROI? So is this optimal for reducing the cost in general? What is the probability for um, these solar panels to truly have a long-lasting impact? So, for example, installing solar panels onto school tops is going to have a much longer lasting impact than perhaps a public bathroom or facility. By that respect, that is what we look to optimize ROI in. And finally, what is the proximity to the Salvation Army, and or what is the feasibility of the applicants? Because we work directly with the Salvation Army, or we're operating about them as a subsidiary NGO, our activities are a direct bonus to theirs because because they list a myriad of programs which allow and or subsidize the costs for low income and or eligible applicants. This program or the service that we provide with solar support can directly supplement some of those issues by providing another outlet for reducing costs and electricity costs of applicants to the Salvation Army. Next, public relations officers, again, they'll deal with private NGOs and primarily the private corporations to reduce and or keep connections with. Because although we currently have operations with the Salvation Army, we will look to expand far beyond Dallas. But as it stands, this is their primary job, to directly consult much more work with the consultants that we have listed, but on a more general basis. And finally, accountants, they'll make sure the installation and maintenance costs are optimized for the consumer and reducing the amount of the upfront cost and the recurring payments if need be. Next, they'll also be managing our public finance reports. As for transportation, company vehicles will be generally limited to evaluators, as they'll be the only ones leaving the office building and going directly on site to actually evaluate and look over what is or how optimized is the applicant's location for ROI purposes. And finally, our office building or our operations center, of course, it's how we're gonna constitute and or situate all our staff, which is typically situated pretty closely to the Salvation Army's locate sites. As for the problem and solutions, as I've listed before, the rolling blackouts and power outages that have consistently swept across Texas have become a reoccurring issue, not only for Dallas citizens, but for Texans all across. And so, although our primary focus is within the southern region of Dallas or of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, our current plans are to expand. But as it stands, because ERCOT is unable to supplement the increasing energy costs on the Texas power grid, our problem and or our fix for as an NGO or as a solar panel NGO is to provide and or make a pathway to create a sustainable electricity or create sustainable electricity within Dallas. And this in turn can be done by directly working with the Salvation Army, who has the facilities to connect our NGO with applicants, and finally private corporations who can actually supply the installation and maintenance of the solar panels. And so our job as a mediator is to connect these two functions and provide an outlet in order to create and or optimize the ROI in solar panels in Dallas. Our market size, again, because we're still in our infancy, we look to operate about the Salvation Army operation centers. So the 3 currently listed is where we'll be working about. And although we do wish to expand farther, we'll be operating within these confines for quite a few years until we can create a stable foundation and show our worth as an NGO and our solar panel NGO and how effective our metrics actually are, which leads me on to our marketing and outreach. Because we're not necessarily invested into making our business public and or telling everyone what we're doing, because truthfully we don't expect many donations from individuals. Rather, we look to get funding from governments or private corporations and other NGOs, because we look to supplement costs and maintenance operations. And so the public view isn't too much of our focus. As for competition, again, we are the first of our kind. We don't necessarily have any other competing industry or NGO because, again, solar technology, while it is an established technology, is still in its infancy in terms of integration within urban environments. As for sustainability, as I mentioned in our marketing, we will look to governmental grants, and other programs such as the Climate Action Implementation Program in Dallas, which recently directed $1.9 million to installing more solar panels onto the rooftop of governmental buildings. And our measurements, how we will evaluate our success and how well we operate. We have 4 primary metrics. First, our solar panel and or how many solar panels we've installed and onto how many houses. This can be tracked directly with our accountants, and we can have empirical metrics or actually physical metrics of how much solar panels we've installed. Electricity generated, we can probably request from individuals that we've worked with to show us some of the reports in order to see how much gigawatts or terawatts we've generated from solar panels. Communities helped will be directly linked with which part of the community the Salvation Army is able to reach out to, because as it stands, since we're limited in size and operation, it will again be focused around the 3 centers or 3 buildings of the Salvation Army. And finally, the Dallas City electricity consumption will be measured in proportion. And so what proportion of Dallas City or electricity consumption is constituted by solar electricity, or is constituted by solar energy rather than coal, nuclear, or even natural gas. And so we look to expand this market share. And that's it. Thank you.